I was a solo act, in Southern California, mostly Manhattan and especially Hermosa Beach, and then eventually in Pacific Beach, a place called Blind Melons. And I developed a big enough following, I was able to hire a band. And I met a drummer. His name was Christopher Polani. He's known as Christo Polani now. He and I really hit it off. We had a lot in common. I love that second line Mardi Gras style mixed in with my maniacal boogie thing. He and I developed a relationship very quickly that revolved around that. Plus, he played in a reggae band, and I love reggae too, so we mixed that in too. He worked with a bass player by the name of Clifford Rehrig. I got to see them all in September, actually. It was wonderful. We kicked ass for a good 10 years down there. And,
I believe it.
I was known mostly for my original stuff and my boogie piano playing, But we were monstrous and very audience participation oriented as well. And I had, I'm a big Frank Zappa fan, and I loved that he had cues, and Chubby did this too. He had cues that could change the style of the band, or stop the band, start another song entirely, speed them up, slow them down, cut time, go back to tempo A, reggae, Latin, all these different cues to change the style and to just whatever I was feeling, I could just translate it to hand signals, and the band picked up on it, and it gave me a lot of creative freedom, really liberating kind of ensemble. And of course, Movin' Out happened, and that's a very rigid thing. And the Movin' Out band still does shows, and it's great. And Dennis Delgadio calls it a self-winding machine, and he's right. We don't really have to rehearse. We know this stuff. We've had it drilled in our heads, for 16 years now. Besides the fact that we all know the music from growing up with it anyway. Sure. But there's not that kind of freedom. Solo concerts, I've got a bit more freedom. I get it, at least on the East Coast. They expect to hear a healthy dose of Billy, and I'm happy to give it to them. And I'm grateful that Billy, doesn't give people a hard time about people playing his music. I'm not an impressionist. I sound like Wade, but I'm happy to perform his music, and it seems to make people happy. And with that, I can mix in some of my maniacal boogie, some of my original material. I'll throw an Elton tune in there, just for good measure. And with each solo concert, I'm going to include something a little different, something a little new. Joe Munley got a hold of that first Wade Preston band CD, the only Wade Preston band CD, called No Present Like the Time. We had done all of the rhythm tracks, but we had only finished 4 of the songs when I ran out of money. So put out a tape with 4 songs on it called The Red Tape, for obvious reasons. And then when I made enough money to go back, the masters had disappeared.
Oh.
And we were devastated and never really recovered from that. So it took about 5 years to get it together enough to start the project over again. So here, it was supposed to come out in like 1990, and here it is, 1995. And that was when the whole digital revolution happened too. We started recording with ADATs, and it was a lot cheaper, and it was a lot easier to do. So fast forward to the present, Joe Munley got a hold of, I'm sure I gave him a copy of No Present Like the Time, and he was really impressed by it. He said, "Dude, you have to do this here." And I thought, I don't know, Moving Out band, solo concerts. The Wade Preston band was a really unique animal because I played whatever I wanted to and got away with it, And it's a different world now, and so I have lots of excuses in my head as to why this might not necessarily be a good idea. But the most difficult thing was going to be, can I find the right musicians who would be willing. That it certainly in the beginning it's not going to be a lot of money, but it probably is going to be a lot of learning or just being subjected to Wade playing and trying to hang on, grab a hold of that tow rope.
Well, you seem to have the players.
Well, Joe set up auditions for me, and much to my surprise, people showed up, and there were some great players, really great players, but. When you meet and you have a certain chemistry, and I need people who will pay attention, who don't get offended when I say that's a little slow or that's a little fast, or can you change it a little bit, where it's not personal or anything like that. And also have the ear. Cliff Rarick was remarkable. I have a pretty busy left hand, and he would hear me change one note, and the next time through the progression, he'd play that note and just look at me like, I caught that. He had an amazing ear, and that was kind of what I was looking for. Along comes John Ventry, and holy, you know the word, I'm gonna keep it PG, but wow, this guy can do that. And he's funny, and I can say, can we do this in A flat today? Yeah, no problem. It doesn't matter what it is, he's transposable. He doesn't need a capo. He doesn't need to hit the transpose button like some of us keyboard players do.
I'm guilty.
I am too. I was thrilled to meet him and that he was interested in this project. And he's got his hands full. I mean, he's a great bass player. So there's a lot of people who were tugging on him, saying, I want you in this project. I want you in that project. So the fact that he makes time for me is not only delightful. From a musical perspective, but I just feel lucky, I'm grateful that he likes this project enough that he is willing to put some time into it.
No, I had the opportunity to see you guys, just like I said the other night, and
we had
it was spectacular.
But we hadn't played together in a while too.
You were gelling like you had played.
Well, we have chemistry, and that's the other thing that I was looking for. Now, Carilla. I'm sure he hears Gorilla, but he's a monster player.
Yes, he is.
Cristo Polani. Sorry, Gino. we had this joke. We would all call one another Gino. I don't know where that came from.
My brother-in-law is Gino, by the way. So.
Oh, great. Hey, Gino.
I'll tag him on the video.
Fits right in there. Christopher had a really in-depth knowledge of second-line drumming. Steve is one of the few drummers that I've met that also seems to have an understanding of that. And that's important because I really want to incorporate that into the sound too. There's a certain antiquity to that whole maniacal boogie thing, and he understands that. But if you just let him go, he does amazing things. Mm-hmm. I'm almost afraid to make suggestions because he's so good that once he starts playing, he just starts coming up with all these different ideas, and I kind of just want to listen and go, ooh, what was that you just did? Do that one again. That thing you just did. I don't know what you call it, but he's the nicest guy. He's an absolute sweetheart with a level of talent. If he did have a bit of tude, he'd have a right to have a bit of tude, and he doesn't. He's a sweetheart.
That's
so
a golden combination.
And John too. John, I think has a bit more of a slightly sarcastic sense of humor. I really like that too. They're both really funny, but they're both really great guys, and I just feel very lucky, and I want to, I'm looking forward to 2019. I feel really confident about the solo concerts. They seem to sell themselves and I give the credit to Billy Joel. They love his music, but once I get him in there, I can make it my own. I know I got to give him a healthy dose of Billy, and I'm happy to do that. But I also give him, the maniacal boogie and the funny stories. And you want to hear an original, I'll throw like one at them the first time, and the next time maybe I'll give them two. Maybe throw another, a couple of other. I play all kinds of stuff, and that's another nice thing about the Wade Preston Band 2.0. Is that we're not relying on the Billy stuff. We're all over the map, and like I used to be. And that's what I long for. And I long for it in that three-piece format. Once you add another person, then everything has to be a bit more solidified.
It reminded me of Elton John's album, the live album he did in 1970.
11-17-70 had a huge impact on me. Three guys, they sounded like an army.
That's what it reminded me of. The show was just like that.
And it wasn't even keyboards, it was piano.
Just a piano, that's right.
Piano, drums, Nigel, D, and Elton.
That's
right. They were amazing.
Yes, they were. I have a copy on vinyl sitting right over there.
And I owe Joe Munley, I really do. Joe set up the auditions. Joe was the one who said, you have to do this. And I was like, I don't know, man. Typical Wade, like, I'm not really sure. and Joe was like, no, we have to do this. And he set up the auditions. He called people. And people came to the auditions. And I was blown away by that. And I found the perfect two cats, and I really hope that we can continue to make this work. And I can't wait to do it. Can't wait to record a CD. I'm dying to do that. Northeastern Pennsylvania people have been incredibly kind to me. You know, I came out of that mortgage crisis situation. I sued Bank of America. That went on for a long time. That was a stressful thing. The wife left, which was heartbreaking. I had friends pass away during that time. A lot of bad stuff happened, you know, and we all know Robbie Wall. She played with me. We played together with Chubby Checker in 1982, and we've been friends ever since.
Nice.
And he got wind of what I was going through, and he was like, well, come out to Scranton, man. You can stay with any one of us until you get back on your feet. It was actually Jack Foley who said, well, I've got an apartment and after a while, you know, I picked up all this work, things started getting better, and the people of northeastern Pennsylvania have been incredibly kind and supportive to me that I kind of feel like they're stuck with me now for a while, at least.
We don't mind being stuck with you.
We don't
mind.
I'm so grateful to people like Jack and Rob and Joe who have really helped me through a rough time. And so I want to try to show my support. Something that's really special about the people in the Scranton area, or northeastern Pennsylvania in general, is just that it's very community oriented. If something happens to somebody, everybody comes together and tries to help.
Rally around it.
And I love that. You don't find that everywhere, you know?
What can we look forward to? What can we expect from Wade and your bands and all your projects in 2019?
One very important thing to me, and I talked to the band about this too, I didn't want them to think that I didn't have them in mind, but I'm doing a solo concert at the Theater at North. Mm-hmm. That place is an extraordinary story in and of itself. Oh gosh, I can't think of Jerry's last name. This guy spent 30 years rescuing that junior high school and finally pulled it off. The classrooms are living quarters for fixed income senior citizens, and the auditorium is a state-of-the-art performing arts center. I was the first person to play there, and that was a great honor and kind of a surprise too, because number one, I'm not from here. I assumed they would want, you know, somebody who actually was from the area, but they were like, we want you, and I was like, okay, you don't have to ask me twice, you know. But also that they wanted the solo act, and I'm like, this place holds 800 people. You cool with this? And they're like, yeah, we want to do this. And it worked, you know, it close to sold out that first show. So, and it was a wonderful experience. They've got a big screen there that I can put pictures up and tell stories, you know, use the visual aid. I can run some things behind me while I'm playing, but most of it, they actually had a camera on my hands. So you see my fingers behind me while I'm playing. Because I face the audience, I stand when I play. Thank you, Keith Emerson. And you can't see my hands. And people really like to see the fingers flying. So that, people really like that. Anyway, it was like the quintessential solo concert venue for me. It's a great venue for any kind of concert or Broadway style show, or it's just a great place. 800-seat place, so you know, imagine you can have all kinds of different acts there. In fact, almost Queen, right, played there, and they did great. They did amazing, and the people are lovely, and I'm very grateful to them. So anyway, we've got the last Saturday of February, which I believe is the 23rd. I am going to do another solo concert there, and I'd really like to get some butts in the seats.
Audience, if you're local, make sure you get there.
Yeah, it's called Theater at North.
North Scranton.
Top
of Greenwich Street.
Correct, yes. It's an iconic building that if you are from this area, you recognize it instantly. I think that the next time I play there, which would probably be either like a year or two, maybe the Wade Preston Band. So come to the Theater at North.
Absolutely.
I will give you a hell of a solo show, and I'm going to tell you some pretty funny stories too.
Should we give them a little preview of what they might expect?
Well, my voice is really tired, so I wouldn't feel terribly confident about singing anything right now.
How about an instrumental?
But you had mentioned Root Beer Rag. Well, maybe we could do Bumblebee or something like that.
Great.
Sure, I'll do some noodling for you, but you have to set it up.
Of course.
I think that'd be hilarious to do Daydream Believer. I don't know it. No.
And Monkey Files is a tribute band.
That's great.
So I want to thank Mr. Wade Preston for coming to Papa Bear Studio, and he's going to give us a little taste of what you could see at the Theater at North on February 23rd. Theater at North Scranton on Main Avenue, right at the top of Greenridge Street. I'm going to get out of the way, Wade, and just be amazed.
All right.
More than less, buddy.